because I was getting queens that was hatching out, so my incubator was running a little bit in the hot side, even though it's only just saying 24. So the idea is, and what I like them is get them out into, instead of putting them, if you put them in an apodea boxes, you have a good chance of them being chilled and them not being able to go on and develop and hatch out into a queen cell, into a queen. Where if you put them into an incubator, you have a precise temperature straight away, literally within about 5 minutes of you taking them out of the hive and putting them into the incubator, they're running at the right temperature that would be in the brood nest. This is what happens is that under natural conditions within the brood nest you have what we call heater bees. And the heater bees just clamp themselves around the queen cell, maintaining the temperature of that cell at 34.5 degrees. And you'll often see it when you try to put away a queen cell or you're taking your graft out of the hive, you have them just, they're stuck to it like Velcro. And when I was just putting them straight into apodea boxes, what was happening is I was getting an awful lot of that. And I thought I had some sort of virus. But what it was, that as soon as I got the incubator, it stopped all of that. And I was just actually getting, my queens were getting chilled in the cells. And as soon as I put them into the incubator, I had that just perfect temperature then all the way through. So, you can, when you do a little bit of grafting, you're doing it into these cells here, is you can actually candle your queen cells. Be very careful when you're doing it because don't forget these little wings are still not developing. But just literally by turning the cell upside down and you give it a tiny little bit of a tap with your 100-watt bulb in the back of it, you can just see its bum here. So, and that would have been about at about day 12 because it's come out with this and it's gone into pupation. And then I can now see that here it is and it's darkened up slightly, so I can actually see its bum just a little bit on the darker side. So I know now at this stage that that cell is going to hatch in about 2 days time, that 100% that I'm going to have a queen out of that, and now I know how many nukes that I have to make up. I now know how many apodea boxes that I make up because I know that out of 16 cells that I put into the incubator, that I now have 12 that's going to be viable queens. And you can actually just see that's one that's just literally just about to hatch out because you can just see the little wing that's there as well. Like it also. I literally just did that for just for the slides. It's not something I would advocate doing because you can just damage your queens. So when your queen hatches out in this cage, we put this roller cage on to protect the queens from fighting, is that you need to put a little bit of food in the bottom of the cage. Right? We have these indentations here on it. And if your queen hatches out in it, you actually don't have to have any workers or anything in with the queen. Is that as soon as she hatches out, she needs thirsty work, she needs a drink straight away. And if you half fill this with a little bit of honey and then a drop of water in on the top of it, and you give it a little bit of swirl around. It's not pure honey they want. What they want is just a sugary liquid drink straight away, because if they don't have this and they hatch out in the incubator, they'll be dead within 3 or 4 hours. But once they have that feed, at that stage then what I generally do is once they're hatched out, is I usually have a couple of hives over the door of the shed, and I just take 2 or 3 workers and I just pop it in with the new virgin queen that's after hatching out. And they can stay there. I usually leave them for about 24 hours in this cage before I transfer them into the hive. Don't put too much liquid in it because this is what you end up with. You just have a soggy queen. If that's a guy that set me up his eyes, says I'll send you up a queen, and he must have thought he had a horse in the cage. That was nothing about it. Is that a queen is not capable of drinking any more than the head of the match. That's about all. That's about what the stomach contents or the crop contents of a bee coming back is about. The head of the match is all that it can take in. So don't put too much in, or you end up with a black sticky queen like that, you know. And as they hatch out, then you can take them and just put them on your incubator like this here on the outside. And so they're queens that would have hatched out in about 4 or 5 hours. I want the incubator can be a little bit on the hot side for queens, so we just cool them down slightly. So I just put them on the outside and I put a towel over them with their antennas, and they're fine there for about 24 hours. But I need to get them from there into your hive as quickly as possible, because that's where they're able to look after them best. So I just literally just sellotape them to the outside of the incubator and then put a towel over them. The heat from the incubator does it. So, problems do I have with the incubator is that you really need to check out your temperature. Is it the right temperature that it's saying on it? Because sometimes your staff could say 34.5 degrees and it's actually only 33 degrees. So put a certain temperature in it, because what was happening is mine was too hot and I was getting queens, so it was hatching out. You can just see that should be black. She should be black. So it's hatching out about 6 to 8 hours too early. And so by reducing the heat, then you can just see that they're hatching all in around the same time, and they turn out to be blacker. And don't let your humidity grow too low. You should have water in it, and copious amount of water in it the whole time, in order to keep your humidity. Because if you think of a hive, the amount of humidity that's in a hive, they're taking the nectar in at 80% and they're reducing it down to 88%. So all that humidity was in the hive, and they need a huge amount of humidity then in the incubator as well. And that's just a few queens that I found out that ran dry and they were a little bit thin and emaciated. So keep your humidity open. I mark all my queens in the incubator. I don't handle them, they just put into one of these sponge cages here, and it just means it's marked. You have it, your bird in the hand is work, when you have it there. Does it make any difference to them? Absolutely none at all whatsoever. Don't handle your virgins, put them into this, you can just put your dot on the top of it. It doesn't harm them at all whatsoever. And I actually find that I probably get a better success rate when I mark them earlier. I have about 50 swallows in the front of the field, in front of my apiary, backwards and forwards. And I think that mark on the back of the queen is just a little bit of an alarm to them. They don't know what it is, and they just go, oh, I'm not going to take that or whatever. So whether it does or not, but I just think that by marking your virgins early when you see them, is that it certainly speeds up your production, but it helps me with the swallows in the field as well, I think. So your queens are just about to hatch. You need to make up your nukes and have them queenless 24 hours beforehand. If you you can't just say, well, I have 12 queens after hatching out, and now I'm just going to go through my bees and I'm going to start making up nukes. And you must make up your nukes at least 24 hours in advance, because if you put them in too early, they're just going to break down queens. Break down queen cells. So we're still a little bit backwards on this. Can you run if it's been you have 24 or 48 hours and you have a virgin queen, let's say, they'll accept virgins. Can you run it straight into the entrance? Yes and no. Is that there was one evening there I had days they were queenless. I had taken the queens out, and the queens had hatched in the incubator, and I didn't have the time to put them in properly. I was heading off to work and I just had minutes to spare. So I just ran down to the apiary and I ran the 6 queens into the door of the hive. The following day I checked, and 3 were successful and 3 were killed. So that just goes to show, yes, you can, it might work for you, and then it probably won't work either on some of them. So literally by just a few minutes is that if I'm putting a virgin into a nuke that I've made up, is I give it minimum amount of formalin, but I do put it in a cage. It would probably just have the smallest scrap formalin at the end of it. She would probably be out within 15 or 20 minutes. She would be out within the hive, but at least then it's giving you a 100% success rate with it. So when your queen cell has emerged, how long does it take an average for them to make it? Is that it takes about 12 days. So you calculate out, when you put your queen cell in, calculate out how long that it's going to hatch, and then you calculate out how many days that it's going to take for it to be mated. So generally is that we can, under ideal conditions, probably have them mated in about 9 days. The general rule is about 12 days for your queen to make it that or hatches. So I will always, and once your queen, your virgin is out in the hive, leave it alone. Don't go back looking at it. Don't go back looking to see if the queen cell hatched out. Is that if you're back looking to see is the queen there, you're generally looking in good weather. It's a time probably most likely that your queen should have been out on a latent flight, and you're after blasting smoke into the entrance and lifting the roof off the hive, so she's not probably going to fly that day. So what I just do is that on my hive records is you just do a little bit of calculation, put your 12 days on top of the queen cell that has just hatched out, and I just put on my hive records due to lay the 17th of July, so it means I open up my hive, have a look at the records on the top of my crown board, and it goes, I know I have a virgin in there, it's not due to lay until the 17th of July, so I don't bother going into the hive looking for any brood or eggs until that day or later. So Apidaeus is really, they can be difficult and it's a lecture in itself, but I run about 20 Apidaea boxes, and certainly for queens that have failed, if you have a queen that fails in the hive, and so what do? Next thing you have to put in a frame of brood, and it's going to take another month, and so you're a month behind in your production. So by having your Apidaea boxes, it means you're on top of queenless colonies. You can just take a queen out, get her into your hive that has gone queenless, and brings up your honey production at the end of the year. Also, is that I make up a lot of nukes as well, and if I have a queen that fails in a nuke, is that it's another full month of brood rearing that's already. I already have a weakened colony, as in a nuke that I've made up. So therefore, as quick as you can get a laying queen into it, the better. So about 20 Apidaeus boxes are run. I think that everybody that has bees should be running at least a minimum for every hive that they have. They should have one Apidaea box, and I just had a little bit too many there on the one stand, and I was getting queen losses. So I just changed them around slightly, and instead of 5 and 6, I just had 3 on it, and I found a huge difference in the success rate of my queens, and I painted up the boxes. So where should you put your Apidaea boxes? The Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold, but just right. So, and these Apidaea boxes are just tiny little mini hives that we put about 1,000 bees into it, and they will never progress into a full hive. They're literally just there to maintain that queen, to feed her, and to get her mated. And we can generally get about 3 to 4 queens out of each Apidaea box in the year. So they're there as an insurance and to overcome your problems the whole time. So I generally don't put it in direct sunlight, is that I will generally put it in the centre of these trees where they just have the dapple sunlight coming through the whole time, or just at the back of a shed where the sun is coming completely around the shed, and I get a much better success with my mates there. I have them before, I have them sort of stuck in the wood or in the shade where they never got any sunshine at the back of a shed, and what happens is that it takes longer for that area to warm up in order to get your bees out or your queen out to fly, so. I don't know how that got there. Okay. So at this time of the year, you really need to be thinking about how many nukes do you want. I would like to think that we should be reducing for it. If you're running 10 hives, you should, without a shadow of a doubt, have 3 to 5 nukes going spare into the winter time to allow for your losses. Is that I run about 50 production colonies, and I went into the winter time with 86 to allow for losses. So I mean, I have my losses. My losses were bigger this year, but I'm still all right with my beekeeping. I have all my colonies. So, and I know people had 3 hives and they lost 3 of them. Some had 5 hives and lost 5 of them. Well, if you want 5 hives for honey production, I think you should be going into the winter time with a maximum or a minimum of at least 10 in order for you to be safe. And there's always in the springtime, if you have too many, then you can do your brain and you can kill your most aggressive ones and join to the quiet ones. Or there's always people that, in their beginners, that need to have bees, and there's always a shortage of bees around. So now, at the moment, what I do is I maximise brood the whole time. So what we're looking for is we're looking to get to a full hive of 60,000 bees, because we're always going to have a minimum of about 15,000 bees, of nurse bees and house bees within the hive. So that at 60,000 bees, we're going to have 45,000 workers. Right? But if we have 30,000 bees in it, we still have 15,000 nurse bees, but we only have 15,000 foragers. So the saying as always is that 2 hives of 30,000 bees will not do anything near what 1 hive of 60,000 bees will do. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to peak our production of our queen laying to get our hive maximum amount of bees ahead of the honey flow. There's no point in having your maximum amount of bees after the honey flow. We're trying to get it beforehand. So what way do I do is that? Now is that what I'm doing is that I'm naturally expanding the brood nest the whole time. So when I do my inspection and when I have about 5 to 6 frames of brood, I take a frame from the back that's completely full of stores and I rake it or completely uncap it. Sometimes if I just have them and they're slightly uneven, is that I have a bucket with me the whole time, I have the honey uncap knife, and I just cut back all the walls out of the frames from the back, and then one frame goes right down into the centre of the brood nest. That gives the bees no choice at all whatsoever. They don't want it in the centre of the brood nest. Within 3 days, they will have that frame completely emptied and laid up from wall to wall. By doing that, you don't get, and the natural progression is you get a little bit of this here, you get a little bit of brood here, right? And, or you get a little bit here. By completely uncapping this, just raking it with the uncapping backwards and forwards, within 3 days, you will have a wall-to-wall slab of worker brood. And I will do that again the following week and a half, but I will also uncap both frames on the outside of the brood nest. So if the bees need to, it just forces them to move out to the sides as well. And, and this way here is that I can get all my hives out to 10 to 11, and if you're in poly hives, you can actually get them out to 12 full wall-to-wall frames of worker brood. And that's getting me up to my peak numbers of what I would expect to have in the hive of 50 to 60,000 bees. So it can be done about every second inspection. Make sure you have your notes. Don't overdo it. If you overdo it too early in the year, if you were doing this 2 to 3 weeks ago and you overdid it by putting 2 frames into the centre of the nest, or if you did it too early, you shouldn't do it before you have 5 frames of brood in the nest. And because what can happen is you can just get a cold snap, and you get a cold snap and the brood nest tightens up and the outside frames are exposed and you can kill off your brood on the outside. But it's a great way of getting those old comb out from the back of it, getting it back in and getting them used up in the hive again. So if you're making up your nuclei and you want to keep them within the same apiary, is that we have the 3 feet or the 3 mile rule. So if you're just doing it's a queen cell that you're taking out of a hive, is that you can just take out the queen cell with the frame of bees that's in it, and then shake in at least an extra 2 frames of bees into the nuclei. What we don't want is, if we just use 1 frame and you think you've loads of bees in it, is that you will have maybe 1/3 to 2/3 of flying bees on that frame. So it means then all your bees, your flying bees, go back to the original hive, and your nuke becomes depleted with bees, and you can get chilling of the queen cell, you can get chilling of the queen, and you get chilling of the brood as well, so it sets it back. So always shake in an extra couple of frames of bees if you're keeping them with it. If you're moving to an outside apiary, then 1 frame of bees, if you have enough on it, with the queen cell will suffice, because you won't lose it once you move them about 3 miles away. Walk-away splits is where there is no queen cells and you just make up a nuke by taking a frame of brood and putting her into a hive with a shake of bees and letting them rear their own queen cells. Is that what you're doing is you have now forced them into emergency queen cells, and they go to panic raise, and they're not going to raise quality queens on walk-away splits, is because they've gone into emergency mode. So always use a queen cell that they have already started, because the bees have indicated to you that that's what they want as the best larva and potential queen of taking over the hive. So don't just make up a split without a queen cell. So generally, if you're making up your nukes, is that from now, and these is what will get you to a potential full colony by going at the end of the year. So in June, if you're making up a nuke, 1 frame of brood. And that 1 frame of brood will give you a full hive at the end of the year. If you're going into July, you're going to need 2 frames of brood. If it's in August, you're going to have 3 frames of brood, which is potential that you're actually splitting the colony down in half. But this is what most people will be geared towards, because you will be all getting your queen cells in around June. July is pushing around a little bit, so for the month of June is the main swarm. If you're making her up, 1 frame of brood, generally a brood frame that we will use that you can see the bees starting to emerge out of. And if they're starting to emerge out of, then you'll never give them a frame of brood that is completely open, that's not sealed. We'll always try to use a frame of brood that's completely sealed, and even better if we can just see the centre of the patch just starting to emerge, and we know that this slab here of brood is all going to be out in the next 2 or 3 days. So, what way do I do my swarm control? Is that on the first sign of a queen cell, now don't forget about 50 colonies, and you're trying to get around to those 50 colonies all in a 7-day period, and you don't be long about burning yourself out, and I do it on my own. So what I'm trying to do the whole time is to shut that down. But next week I've only 45 to do, next week I've only 35 to do, the week after that I've only 22, so I'm the whole time trying to shut down on the amount of swarm control. So on the first sign of my queen cells is, and especially for beginners, is that somebody else, a more seasoned beekeeper, can push it on 1 or maybe 2 weeks, but remove the queen. And I will make up a nuke with that old queen. Is that I get her into a hive, especially if she's one of my good queens. If she's an aggressive queen and I'm going to replace her, I will actually probably just take her out and kill her and remove her. Right? But so I'll find a queen, I make up a nuke with it, I shake in a couple of frames of these, and what have you done there, right? You have now given yourself a 100% insurance that if your queen cell fails within the hive, what have you got? We still have none. We still have the queen there. So you're not at a loss, you're not ringing around if you only have 1 hive. You're not looking around the country that my queen has failed, I'm looking for a queen, or I'm trying to find a queen cell or a frame of brood. Is that once you remove your queen out and you put her into a nuke, your insurance is that you're still a beekeeper. So now, what I generally do, that once I have done taking the queen out, I now have my queen. So I've gone, and now I'm at 2 hives now that I have. Is that I identify the queen cell that I want to take over the colony, and I will always take a queen cell that's open, like this. Not a queen cell, because we have just removed the queen from the hive, so it means she has just laid an egg. And the potential is that that egg will hatch in 3.5 days time, and then they can use it for another 4-day-old larva. So for another 7 days, they have the potential of rearing a queen cell. So you take the queen out of the hive, and I identify an open queen cell. That queen cell cannot hatch for another 9 days, because that's going to take, that's just about to be sealed, so it's going to be sealed within the next 24 hours, and then it takes 8 days for it to hatch. Therefore, your next inspection is going to be back in 9 days' time, or 7 days time, 2 days ahead of this queen cell is going to hatch out. So you break down all the queen cells and you just leave this one. That's my swarm control done on that colony. I don't have to look at that for another. It's going to hatch in 8 days and 12, and 12 days to hatch. So that's 21 days before that's due. So I just put on my records, don't look at this colony for another 21 days, and that's that one out of it. And then I'll only just check to see that she is coming to lay, that she's there, and I don't look at that again for the rest of the year after I'm done. So that's that one out of the way. So as many times as I can do that as quickly as possible, that gets, it starts to give me more time for myself. So now I've gone from 1 to 2, and I have 2 colonies. So you can do the artificial swarm. I don't do it because it's a little bit too much work. You're moving colonies 3 feet away, or another box that you have to have in the centre. So the idea of it is you move it away. Once again, you select the queen cell, and all your flying bees return to the old position. I leave the queen cell in the old position. I remove the old queen. The book actually says to leave the queen on site, but I don't agree with it because you're leaving the problem within the hive. The problem is being the old queen. So I always leave the queen cell that's there. I get all my flying bees that are back there, and then you're still in honey production. And you can actually then, reinforce. You can make a new up out of the remaining hive, or sometimes what I would do with the hive that's there, I would have a look into it, that I have moved away. All the flying bees have come back, and I'll have a look in and I'll see how strong the amount of bees I have left in that hive. And now there's no more flying bees in it. It's all young bees, and I will split the hive that I have moved maybe into 2 or 3 loops. So what I've done is that I still have my production colony, and now I make up a minimum of at least 2 loops out of the hive that I have split away, because that's not going to make any more honey. So this is my way of increasing stocks the whole time, but only doing it from your top quality. There's no point in splitting stocks if they're aggressive bees. The next thing you end up with 10 or 15 hives. So just do this on your best hives in the year. So if a colony is swarmed and it's gone, and you've missed it, and your queen has gone out, and you're not too sure, is that, and you only have 1 hive, the very minimum what you need to do in order to give yourself an insurance is make yourself up anew with a queen cell that's there. So you'll take out a frame with a queen cell that's on it and shake in an extra couple of frames of bees. And now you're giving yourself an insurance that if the queen cell fails in the main hive, that you have the potential that your queen cell is going to work in your new box as well. So the whole thing about beekeeping is to make sure that if you go queenless, that you have it back up the whole time. If you're making up nukes, don't pick a queen cell on the bottom of the frame. Is that it's fine to leave a queen cell in a hive that's a full hive, but not if you're going to make up a queen cell and leave it in the same area you're putting in the shakes of bees. Because what can happen is that if too many flying bees go back to the original site, is your brood nest, or the bees will shrink up around the back into the heart of the brood nest, and they'll leave your queen cell exposed that you have picked on the bottom of the frame. So it looks like, and you're wondering why is that not hatching, why is that hatching, is that your queen has got chilled in the cell on the bottom of the bar. So I never, if you're making up nukes, is use a cell on the bottom of the bar. Yeah, fine if it's in a main colony where there's plenty of bees in it, but not if you think this could be depleting. So I will often make nukes up from different colonies if I have just a queen cell, and probably not enough bees within it. Then when I go to the next colony, is that I just take a frame of bees and I just shake it into the box. When I go to the next colony, I take another frame of bees and I shake it into the box. So you can make up nukes from from several different colonies, and you'll have no fight at all whatsoever. Just once you shake your bees in, most of your flying bees will go back to the original site, and you'll be left with most bees. So you can do that. All of this is not going to affect your honey production at all whatsoever.